Alas, Corley, and I too want to add my condemnation to the horrendous attacks that have happened outside the synagogue in Manchester. Listen, Tánaiste, to the world has looked already, as you know yourself, on the horror that's happened for the last 2 years in Gaza. The fact that over 60,000 men, women and children have been murdered. Dozens of men, women and children have been murdered on a daily basis at the moment. Bombs being dropped on schools, on tents, on religious locations and churches, on hospitals, on asylum centres, etc. The level of destruction and murder that's happening in Gaza for the last 2 years is absolutely horrendous. And I do think that the importance of this particular flotilla, as it is a significant tool on focusing light on that horrendous situation. Israel has been at pains to tell us that there's no genocide, that there's no blockade of foods, that they're not stopping aid getting into the region. Those lies were never credible, but they're certainly not credible after today. We do want to express our solidarity with all those who have been detained. The idea is that 500 lawyers, activists and parliamentarians have been involved in this is an incredible feat. That flotilla was intercepted in international waters. That's a clear breach of international law, and it's another example of Israel operating as a rogue state. It is, in actual fact, an act of aggression against the countries under which flags those boats were actually travelling. And I do think it's incredible now that we have a serious act of aggression against Ireland, because there are 15 Irish citizens in custody of the IDF at the moment. It's incredible that the Israeli Foreign Minister, on a post on Twitter, labelled those involved in the flotilla as Hamas, announcing that they had intercepted Hamas vessels. This is dark and dangerous surrealism that the Israeli government would accuse Irish citizens of being members of Hamas. It's absolutely incredulous that names like Kelly, Sheehy, O'Donovan and Clancy could ever be associated by an actual government with Hamas. There are protests happening currently in Greece and Italy, Germany and Tunisia and Turkey. Governments around the world have been ramping up the criticism and pressure. South African President Cyril Ramaphosa has increased that pressure. Turkey's foreign minister has condemned these interceptions as an act of terrorism. The Colombian president has expelled the remaining Israeli diplomats, and Colombia has also terminated their free trade agreement with Israel. So just practically, I appreciate the information that you have given the Chamber today, and that's important information. I appreciate that you're in contact with the families, and that's important too. But what practical actions are we taking to protect the rights of our citizens, to make sure that their well-being is protected, and to get them home ASAP?
Thanks very much. So firstly, can I just join with you in condemning the outrageous slurs on our citizens in relation to any reference to Hamas. Our Irish citizens are people in the pursuit of peace. In the pursuit of peace on a humanitarian mission to try and bring food and medicine to a starving population. And I agree with you in condemning that sort of horrific slur on our citizens that shouldn't be stood for. In relation to so two things. Firstly, my priority, and I appreciate what you said about the work of my department, but firstly, our priority today, tomorrow, in the period ahead, has to be the well-being of our citizens who are currently in detention in Israel. It has to be our priority. It always has to be the priority of the Department of Foreign Affairs when our citizens are detained wrongly abroad, and try and help and assist them and support their families. But what I have said, and I don't want to go further than this currently, but what I have said in the statements that I issued with 14 other countries is there does have to be accountability under international law for the actions that have been taken by Israel. And I have begun conversations with counterparts, and will have further conversations to detect if there's an appetite, which I hope and believe there is, to consider how a number of countries could pursue this. And I will keep the House informed on this as I develop that policy, and as I engage further with government colleagues here in Ireland too.
And a couple of questions. Will you give a date for the Occupied Territories Bill? Secondly, you mentioned about the complexities in relation to Israeli arms flights over Ireland, and there's a danger that people can hide behind complexities. But the Ditch has reported that the Irish state authorities in the last 2 months assisted FedEx flights flying through Irish territory as they illegally carried F-3 combat jet parts to an Israeli Defence Force airbase. Now, F-3 fighter jets dropped 900-kilogram bombs on Gaza. That is a significant issue, that we would have our defence forces and our territories being facilitating these flights happening. Now, if the ditch can get to the heart of the contents of those flights, it is very hard to see that the Irish government can't actually put a stop to this, or at least use the current law. There is a law currently that says that munitions of war carried through Irish airspace without permission from transport is a criminal offence punishable by up to 3 years imprisonment. And my question to you is, we should be pulling every single lever in relation to making sure that we have an immediate response to actual events that are leading to the deaths of men, women and children in Gaza. But yet we're not seeing that immediacy. We're actually seeing prevarication in relation to actual steps that we could take now.
I think we're out of time, but I'm happy to respond. So while there isn't a specific date for the bill, because it's obviously that's not how our legislative programme works. It is on the legislative programme for now, but I am eager to move it forward as quickly as possible. I'll meet with the sponsor of the bill, the original bill, next week, and then I'll revert to the House. And I can tell you, we are open to considering all legal avenues that currently exist in relation to any wrongful use of Irish airspace, and Minister O'Brien has been pursuing that matter.
Deputy Patrick.